Right, we've been moving through Jeremy Beguy's 12 rules for how to play the second row, and we're on to rule number 7, which is we're starting into the doublet rows and we're looking at double ones. Just a reminder of something I've been saying in all these videos, there is an order of priority, so rules 1, 2, and 3 come first in that order, and then after that, all the other rules just cover different situations we can follow. And in this situation we're following here is where we've rolled double ones at the start. It's quite a nice roll. There are variations that in the ways you play it, but it's understandable and doable, I think. And I think over the course of this video and making this video, I'm finding it quite straightforward. So the default rule for the nice thing with all the doublets is the sort of a default rule. So for double one, we're going to play 2 from our 8 point to our bar point and 2 from our 6 point to our 5 point. I think most, even semi-experienced players would kind of recognize this one as fairly straightforward. So here we have our double ones. We're going to make our 5 point first of all, and then we make our bar point. That's the default rule, and we'll do that in out of 30 situations we might find ourselves in rolling a double one. We're going to use that for 16 out of 30, so more than half play it that way. Bill Roberti, kind of his way of, I don't think you need to memorize this or anything, but his way of saying is basically if your opponent hasn't split or has split to their 18 point, this is the right play. So again, here I just thought the 18 point was an interesting one where, so we've hit the 18 points, you might think, is there something else we should do? But no, it sort of kind of follows naturally. You're going to hit because you want to, you're going to make that point to cover it, and then you make your 5 point. So if they split the 8 point, it's 18 point, it's just one of those 16 situations that you're going to play that default play. Beyond the default play, there are a number of this kind of, Jeremy Beguy does a sub rules. There are a number of sub rules, and you do need to know them, but they're manageable. And the first of these is after the 6-5-2, there's times sometimes where we don't make the bar point, but we move one of our back checkers forward 2 places. And there's 4 circumstances in which we'll do this. And the first of them is pretty straightforward. I think you'll see it on the board and kind of say, oh, I'm not going to leave my opponent to shot at me. And this is when there's any time our opponent has split not to the 18 point. So here's an example here. Our opponent has played 2-1. You can see they've played 13-11 up the top there, and they've played 24-23. Now look what happens if we were to do the default move, make our 5 point fair enough, make our bar point. Now down the bottom there, black has a direct shot at us with a 6. So it's we don't need to give that kind of risk away. So instead we put the 2 checkers there. We don't worry about making the bar point, and we just run one of our checkers forward from 24 to 22 and just tidy it up. And if you look at it, it's the default move is now a blunder there, 103 millipoint blunder. We don't need to leave black a shot. We're just better off getting ourselves moving from at the back. The second situation in which case you wouldn't make the bar point, but we'd go 24-22, is after our opponent has played 3-1 and made their 5 point. So look up at the top there. Black has, I said, made their 5 point with the 3-1. We have the double ones. We're always going to make our 5 point in return. So now we're just as strong as them. You could say that playing 8-7 and making our bar point is, gives us a slightly stronger prime. But the bottom line is that they're beginning to make a prime up the top. And Mitchie's rules, if you remember back to our Mitchie videos, was basically you split against a prime. So they're making a prime, we're better off splitting against it. And that's the one where there's not a huge difference in PR or equity, but it's let's do the right thing. The third situation where you're going to play 24-22 instead of the default move is if you hit on your 5 point with the 6-5. And there's kind of an interesting little feature about this. Here's the position. Black has played 4-3 and has come up to our 5 point, and we're obviously going to hit them and cover it. Now, if we were to play the default move and go on and make the bar point, we expression in schools hockey, there's a age group or a category for the younger ones called the Super 8s. Black has Super 8s here. If they roll a 3-5 or a 6-2, they're going to come in and hit us back. So we don't leave that shot for them. Instead, we go split at the back. And the great thing now is 8s play really badly. 6-2 and 5-3 play really badly for black if they come in, because they're going to leave us extra shots, or they're going to leave us 6s will leave us shots. 5s are going to stack up where they don't want to be stacking up checkers. So for that reason, that's why we play the 24-22. It took me a while to get my head around that, but it's just it gives them problems if they come in with certain numbers from the bar. And there's only two situations where you're going to play this. One is when you roll our opponents rolled a 4-3 like that. The other is if they've rolled 5-4 like that. That's the time they leave us that shot. And just you'll know from now on, don't play the default roll. Hit 6-5 all right, and then just move 24-23. The final situation where you will play the 24-22 roll is if our opponent makes what I call a weak run for it. It's not the right move as an opener, but sometimes, particularly at DMP, opponents might play 24-15 or 24-16. So here's a situation where they rolled a kind of 6-2 and have run out the back. Same thing applies if they roll a 6-3, and this is the one I'm going to kind of go through. So here with this situation, we're going to, again, make our 5 point, of course, but we're better off playing 24-22, just getting our back checkers moving. None of the experts have said why this is the case, but I suppose my understanding was really that, at the start of the game, it's a race to try and make, your 5 points and a good prime. It's also a race to try and get your back checkers moving. Black has got their back checkers moving, so for this reason, the right thing for us to do is to move from the back as well. Now, they're the only times you'll play the 24-22, but there are two other sub-rules just to bear in mind. One is, if your opponent leaves a blot in your 4 point, hit and cover them with 6-4. And I think you do that naturally. So here's the situation. Opponent rolled a 4-3. They split pretty kind of normally, and now we've rolled double ones. We could make our 5 point with playing two checkers 6-5. But we can do something better. We can hit black and put them in the bar and make our 4 point. As Roberti says, look, now what you've done here is you've made a really great point and you've put your opponent on the bar. So for that reason, that's the right move. There's only two situations where that can happen. One is where our opponent rolls a 4-3 and splits. One is where they roll 3-2 and split like that. But in either of the situations, the correct move is to just play two checkers 6-4 and hit. The final sub-rule, the final thing you need to know, I said this is kind of really straightforward, is just if our opponent makes a strong slot on their own 5 point, we should just hit them and send them back. And just to clarify, if you watch the last video, you know the differentiation between strong slots and weak slots. Here is a situation where our opponent rolled a 5-1, brought 13-8 and slotted their 5 point. And I'm calling that a weak slot because there's only two numbers, 1 and 3, which will cover the slot in the next go if we don't hit them back. So we let them, if in that situation, they're less likely to cover their blot up on their 5 points. So they're certainly favourites to cover it, but they're not strong favourites to cover it. So for that reason, we kind of leave them alone and just play the usual default roll. But if they rolled a 2-1, for example, now they have, that's the different, I call the 5-1 situation a weak slot, but here's a strong slot because now if we don't hit them, they have three direct hits, three direct rolls will cover their slot, their blot and their 5 point. And for that reason now we're better off hitting because we don't want to let them make that prime if you can avoid them. And in particular if they roll 4-1. With 4-1, the checker on the 9 point is such a great builder that we really have to stop them building and stop them advancing. They're beginning. They have the prospect to make a great attack up the top there. So we got to hit them back with the 24-20. So literally, we just take it and we just roll our back checker forward 4, send them back. Yes, we don't. This reminds me of Mitchie's final proverb, Proverb 21. This idea of comparing primes. Yes, we could have made a prime with our 6-5. They could have made a prime covering their 5 point. We'd have been pretty much even. This way, neither of us have a prime, but we're 19 pips up in the race. So for that reason, it's the right thing to do. I made a few notes previously when I was kind of studying double one openings and kind of the major themes are there. You can read them if you want. I said it's all just what we've kind of been saying and then some of the finer details and finer rules. But having kind of made this video, I think it's quite straightforward. It just comes down to the default rule for more than half the plays. You might, instead of playing the 8-7 with two of them, you might play 24-22 And there's 4 circumstances you can read there where that happens. If you have the chance to hit a blot in your 4 point, you should, and then just cover that. And finally, if they've made a strong slot in their own 5 point, you hit them and send them back. That's it. That's double ones covered. That's all 30 situations covered nice and neatly. And you can maybe, screenshot that slide and memorize it. That's you done. It will not surprise you, having done double ones in this video, to know that the next video I intend to produce will cover double twos. And we'll do that shortly.